All right. It should be started now. I think the stream is going to be a little bit behind. I think around 30 seconds behind. Um, Not entirely sure exactly why it is behind, but you know what? It's whatever. Greetings, gamers. I want to thank you for joining me today as I begin my journey into Jugdral. Thracia 776 Ironman run. This is going to be a very fun adventure, and I'm looking very far forward to it. So, the idea of an Ironman, and I have posted this on several indications, including the description, is that if you make a mistake, if you lose a unit, if you lose something important, if something bad happens, if it's all irreversible. It is something you just have to live with and move forward with. If any game over condition is met, you automatically lose completely. Gone. You're done. The run is over. You cannot continue that run. That is the rules of the Ironman. They are arbitrary, but it is also fun. So, in the grand scheme of things, even though I could, if I really wanted to, complete the runs, I'm obviously not going to because that would be against the spirit of an Ironman. So if I lose in any way, shape, or form, I get a game over. This run will be over, and I will go on to season 2 in an upcoming stream. I don't plan on doing samey streams, so you're not going to see like Iron Man after Iron Man or like season 1, then season 2, then season 3, but eventually I'll get around to season 2, which is, whatever when it happens. The community has chosen for me to play on Paragon mode. Man, it was kind of a struggle. I saw it go to 75% Paragon, and then 50 something percent normal mode, and then 50 something percent Paragon, and then 50 something percent normal, and then back to Paragon. And then I ended the poll earlier today around 4 p.m. my time, which would be 4 a.m. your time, because currently I'm living abroad. Yes, that is the reason why my stream schedule is kind of weird and wonky. I am thinking about doing a upcoming poll, maybe in a few weeks' time if things don't work out exactly as I plan. Maybe gauging the community's response and whether I should do it at different times. Keep in mind that I obviously can't do streams at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time because that's 4 p.m. or 4 a.m. my time. At this current moment, which is pretty darn crazy if you want my honest opinion. I don't think I'm going to be waking up at 3 in the morning so that I can make sure that I can stream several hours. Who knows how long that is. Most of my streams, just prefacing this also, will be around between like an hour or two. They could go longer. I doubt they'll be any shorter. I want like an hour to two is just a good standard for stream time. I think that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm pretty excited about all this. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. Now, I will say to the potential naysayers of like, why play an Iron Man? Oh, howdy! Hey, it's X. Welcome to the chat. I am now seeing you. Yay, that's pretty awesome. Yep, finally beginning the streaming, and it's going to be a very fun one. Hopefully you enjoy it, even though I don't think you're very much into Fire Emblem. I have seen you occasionally want to dabble though. So why play an Iron Man run but then pick a lesser difficulty? For one, I didn't pick the difficulty, my community did. For two, Paragon isn't really a difficulty. Paragon would break open any other Fire Emblem game because most other Fire Emblem games have really weird stat lines for enemies versus units, and therefore your playable units they get too strong in those games. So if you had Paragon double experience points gained for all actions in any other Fire Emblem game, it would make it such that your units would get to a point where they would snowball so quick that it would be impossible to lose regardless of difficulty. That's not true in Thracia. In Thracia, you absolutely can lose and die pretty darn quick. In fact, one of the most difficult chapters in this game, and I've said this before in my previous playthroughs, is Chapter 4. I only have to get a few chapters in this game, and I could already lose the run. That sounds very, very anticlimactic. If I were to lose the run that quickly, I would not be starting a Season 2. I would just, at least in another episode, I would be starting it in this one, in this stream. So just as a fair warning there. Without further ado, it is time to get into the actual meat of the gameplay. Fire Emblem 5, Thracia 776. So first and foremost, I have to go ahead and delete, a few of these, just because I need a save. I'm going to back up, and then in, let's see, I think, load, we can just press load game or new game, I think. And then the code is right, left, right, left, right, left, right, right. Once you hear that click, you can go back, and then you can pick Paragon Mode. And that's exactly what I'm going to be doing for this wonderful playthrough. I did also make mention that I am not going to be doing the story in this game. I'm not going to be doing voiceovers or voice acting or anything of the sort. This makes a lot of sense because, this run could die in a few chapters, and then I'd have to redo a run, and then it would become very repetitive. I would like to, do story modes of games on stream, but I think I'm going to mostly leave that for playthroughs and Let's Plays. So, Chapter 1, The Warrior of Fianna. I am going to attempt to explain this game as much as I possibly can going through, and if you have any questions, please do feel free to ask. Otherwise, for the most part, it's just going to be pure gameplay. I do plan on leaving animations on the entirety of the stream. It might be such that in some chapters I have to turn them off because that's, kind of crazy. Some chapters just get very long-winded, and I think I'm going to take it chapter by chapter basis and moment by moment basis, whether or not I turn the animations off. So message speed is going to be fast, game speed is going to be fast, map data is on detail, units window detail, animations, like I said, on for now. Hidden data, we're putting that to 3, deployment 2. And then window pattern is always my favorite, which is window 4. And the reason why window 4 is my favorite is because that means you have no foreground, you only have a background. Of course, there are multiple presets, and all of these presets can be entirely tweaked to your desire. It's kind of crazy that this is a Super Nintendo game, right? We're talking about a game that was made in 1999, 26 years ago, in fact, that has more customization than any current Fire Emblem game to date, which is kind of insane. So I think what I'm going to do, because this is an Ironman run, is I'm going to go for a beautiful red background. I think that looks very nice. What's cool about the beautiful reds is that when you click on any of your units and look into your said units, you get the backgrounds. That's what this is for. This is cool. You get to change that. It also changes your upper right-hand corner chapter information. It does change like location depending on where you put your cursor, which is pretty interesting. So here's Avel. Avel is your most important character in the early game, at least during the Kerberos arc. She is not your main character, though. That would happen to be Leaf. Leaf is your main character, and unfortunately, a lot of people have misgivings about Leaf. They say that he is bad, and that he is not all that, like, great of a lord character in a Fire Emblem game, and I have to disagree. Beg to disagree. I think he's fantastic, let alone the fact that he has a 1-2 range light sword. This really does help him. There is a strategy that I do in the early game of every single playthrough of Thracia. What's funny about this strategy is that there's like a 30% chance that Leaf dies immediately. And I mean like on turn 1 enemy phase here. So I think it is kind of fair for me to just forego that strategy, even if it means some things are changed a little bit. And I don't think Avel can rescue. Yeah, she cannot rescue Halvin, so I don't think I'm going to do that right there. But I'm going to put you here. I could KO one of these guys. That would be kind of interesting. What do you have? You have a short lance, so I'm not stealing that necessarily. Short lance, javelin. Okay, so that's actually not a bad idea. I'm going to go ahead and KO you immediately, just to give me less of a chance of immediately failing off rip. That would be kind of hilarious. And you can see, even with Paragon Mode, double experience points, Avel doesn't get much. She's actually a pre-promoted level 12 Sword Master. So her prior class is Myrmidon, I guess you would call it, in this game. And so the interesting thing about Thracia is all stats cap at 20 besides HP. All combative stats, they cap at 20. And this is one of the many, many reasons why your units are always vulnerable, because weapon might in this game is much higher than it is in most other games. Weapon might determines your attack alongside your strength, or in the case of a magic weapon, your magic, which is very interesting. So now I can just go ahead and end my turn. It is time to move forward. First and foremost, yes, Finn is going to be attacked at range here. That doesn't really matter. This is fantastic, especially because he missed. That means that Finn doesn't have to worry about, you know, taking any extra damage. Avel is literally unkillable in the first few chapters. She has plot armor. Which I think is a very interesting thing to note. It makes you wonder exactly like why. I think I'm getting a little bit of lag. Let me check here real quick. That's very unfortunate. I'm getting just a little bit of lag on the game. Not sure why. Welcome to the chat. Greetings, gamers. Okay, cool. All right. So now it is time to go ahead and use Halvin to attack this bow unit here. Hopefully he hits both his attacks here, and he did. A clean KO, very nice. 50% experience points right there. Quite a lot indeed. So most of the time when I play this chapter, I do like stealing this javelin. And how you steal this game is through capture. Capture is a very interesting mechanic. It is actually unique to this game. It makes it such that you have to have all of your stats, and then you go into combat. So you have them all. It makes you much more vulnerable. And then you force rescue the opponent, as Finn did. So as you can see, all of his stats are halved. The reason why Finn is pretty amazing as a capturer is he has a weapon that automatically allows him to double attack per attack. This game's very, very interesting. So let's go right here. I can trade the Javelin and the Vulnerary. This is another thing you can't do in any other game in the franchise, is trading multiple times between units while adjacent. Now, the problem is, of course, Finn is stuck with his capturee, a monster soldier, and, you know, that kind of stinks. But that's okay. I don't think he's in any serious danger at the moment. And I don't want to put Leaf in the range of you. I would rather this guy go for Aval. Leaf will need experience points and will need quite a lot of it, especially for the upcoming chapters, especially for the Monster Escape arc. But I'm not really concerned about that right at this moment. I think I'm going to go ahead and end my turn. And you might have a 43 hit, but you weren't really doing much. 9 attack with an Iron Lance. 7 defense on good old Aval. You would have did 2 wonderful damage. That's not exactly impressive, friend. Now Finn, he is, like I said, vulnerable right now, but he dodged, luckily. Less damage he takes, the better, just for the sake of it. Of course, the problem with Finn is that if I am not capable of taking the unit off of him, whom I capture in the first turn with Avel, if she doesn't have the constitution to take him, because all units in this game, enemy units, have the ability to vary stats quite wildly compared to most other games. They can go plus in the realms of anything in a 5-stat radius. And then they can also plus movement, which is kind of insane. Looks like reinforcements have arrived from the west. That would be Tanya, Dagdar, and Marty. Brigands. It's very interesting. Fire Emblem is a very trope-heavy series. And in this series, what you'll find is that oftentimes your characters on the very first chapter are always fighting bandits. But in this case, I'm always fighting soldiers. So soldiers are just lance-wielding. Usually they have a shield, but it's just for aesthetic purposes. They're regular foot soldiers. The only bandit on the entire map is Marty. He is literally a brigand, and that's pretty cool. I actually think that that's just such a neat little touch. Now here, you have to be careful because this archer has the chance of doubling Leaf. And how you can tell this is at the very bottom of this screen, you see AS, that's attack speed. Both of them are 0, so neither are going to double. I can actually put Leaf here with, no cause for concern. And I'm going to go ahead and leave him there. I think, okay, 12 times 2. This is a KO. Cool, but also, difficult thing about good old Thracia is that Thracia caps at 99 hit and floors at 1 hit. This means that you can always have a chance to miss. It never goes to 100%. You can never have a 100% chance to hit. Now, if you perform certain actions, like, for instance, a critical. If you see your character perform a critical, that means it could not have missed. If it did miss, you wouldn't see the action. So it's kind of interesting that way. So Finn here, he actually has to go over here and KO this unit and then move right in front of this unit in the house. The reason why is because this unit in the right here will move, and he has a javelin. I don't want anybody to be attacked with range. So I can go ahead and KO him with the Brave Lance, and then I'll get the other soldier at the house. And of course, again, Finn can't drop because in order to drop, I cannot attack. And in order for him to move up and block this house, I have to have first attacked in that situation. So I can't drop him. So his stats are still halved, which is very, very much a shame. I do believe, yes. So he can't attack Finn, but he is able to attack Avel, which is okay. I would be perfectly fine with that if Avel was attacked here, rather, by this soldier. And Ocean can go ahead and finish the job with this soldier at his house. So a couple of your characters in this chapter have a house to visit, and those houses are particular to them. Very nice level up. HP, strength, speed, and luck. Ocean is one of your most important units in all of Thracia. He is an incredibly good powerhouse, incredibly strong, Very, very cool, especially once he gets his preferential axe, which he gets in this chapter from his own home. Once that happens, he becomes pretty much your best enemy phase. Your best enemy phase fighter. And then, of course, good old short lance wielding Munster soldier here is in the game. I'm clearing out as much of this stage as I possibly can. As you can see, somebody like Leaf is just not getting a lot of experience points in this chapter. It's pretty hard to do that. You could spoon feed every single KO in this chapter to Leaf, and he would use it more readily and better than any of your other units. The reason why this is, well, because your other units kind of don't need it. Your other units are in good positions. Leaf is not. Leaf is the only character in your party who is at a very bad state when you first get him. And the reason why this is because his stats are really bad, but his potential is very good. After he promotes, he actually gets a buff to his experience points gained, like most archers in the game. And because of that, he becomes a very good utility unit because he can just level up like nobody's business. All right. I have nothing on him, so I can finally release him, which is great. And then I can make my move towards Halvin's house. Ocean can go ahead and visit his home, speak with his dad, and get the Vouge. The Vouge is incredible. So this is a typical Iron Axe here. It's an E rank, 65 hit, 9 might, 0 critical, 1 range, and 10 weight weapon. These statistics are pretty arbitrary to the minds of those who are not used to Fire Emblem, but let's just say this is a very weak weapon. Whereas you go down and you can see Ocean's preferential weapon. 80 hit, 10 might, 30 crit, 1-2 range, 9 weight. So this weapon has the ability to attack at range, 1-2 range, and that's pretty insane. Because Ocean has Wrath, if enemy attacks first, the user's counterattack will be a critical hit. What that means is that critical hits in this game are just double your attack. His attack currently is 16, it would be 32. And then, of course, you minus your opponent's defense off of that, and then that's the damage you're doing. It's pretty cool stuff, I would say. So, let's see. Oh, Creative Life. Okay, welcome to the chat. Thank you for joining. Hopefully you enjoy your time here. Hopefully I'm informative and entertaining. All of the above. Yes, Thracia 776 is a pretty fantastic game. One that I think more people, especially in the Fire Emblem franchise, should give a try, because a lot of folks put this game off because they're afraid of the difficulty or afraid of like the challenge. And I will admit there's times where it is pretty challenging, but for the most part it's just a fun game. I think I'm going to leave Leaf there just in case he is needed. Alright, so I'm doing 6 times 2. This is actually an unfortunate KO. Typically, I try to steal or abscond this guy's short bow by capturing him. It's actually a bit risky because your best chance is with Dagdar. Dagdar, interestingly, even with a Tanya support, because he gets a 10% support, he'll get a 67 hit here. He has a pretty good chance of just missing. I'm still going to try. I think it's worth trying because there's no danger here. There's absolutely just no issue, and it worked. So I'm pretty excited about that because Dagdar, well, the man comes with a hand axe. This is one of the biggest joke weapons in all of Thracia. It has 45 hit. That means you're pretty much not hitting anything with it. However, a short bow is something he can use, and keeping that in mind, it's actually just, you know, a better weapon. Let's see, 15 times 2. I can go ahead and defeat the boss with Avel. Do you fools realize what you're doing? If I die, so do the women we took. Well, you know what, friend? Wiseman, you're not so wise, fighting against Abel and her crew. Oh, she missed? I'm surprised with that one. She missed one of her shots, but it's okay. She does have Adept, which is a attack speed % chance to attack again, which is pretty interesting. That's insane that she even got... that's insane she got strength. So you can check the statistics, the growth rates of your characters in the Little Monster ROM hack, which is just a translation patch. That's all this is. There's no cheating going on, of course. 15% strength growth means that she's getting 1 level of strength out, or I think 3 levels of strength out of every 20 levels. So we're not talking about high statistics here. And then Leaf needs to make his way to the seize point, because the objective of this chapter is to seize the town hall that Wiseman was securing. Wow, Finn one shot. Wow. Imagine being a soldier for a military and then just being one shot. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think that's perfect right there. So what's cool is that a lot of your units have a movement statistic. So the statistics in this game are HP, strength, magic, skill, speed, luck, defense, constitution, and movement. So HP is obviously how much health you have, hit points, so on and so forth. We all know about this if you know any kind of RPG. Strength is the amount of damage you'll do with physical weapons. Magic is the amount of damage you'll do with magical weapons, but it also doubles as your resistance against magical attacks, which is very cool. It's very much Gen 1 Pokemon-ish, even though this is the 5th game in the franchise and they didn't have this concept in previous entries. Skill is your ability to hit. So hit and skill, accuracy, all that comes together for a combined total of your ability to hit your opponent alongside your opponent's ability to avoid. If your opponent has a higher avoid than your hit, you're going to be floored at 1, and you're probably not hitting with a 1%. Let's just throw that out there. Speed affects many things, like your avoid, your attack speed, so on and so forth. Luck also affects many things. It attacks your hit, your avoid, your dodge, so on and so forth. Dodge is just avoiding criticals. Defense is your ability to take physical damage. The more defense you have, the better you are at that. Constitution is the ability to mitigate weapon weight. And then movement. Movement is interesting. It caps at 5% growth, and you can grow your movement in this game. So Leaf has a 6 movement. He could actually get a movement stat and go to 7 or 8 or 9. Movement in this game caps at, I believe, 20. It's either 20 or 15. I'm not too sure on that because I've obviously never had somebody who got there. It's very interesting, just the way that all works. I think that a lot of stuff about Thracia is just really cool. So I think Marty can go here, pretty sure. So I'm going to go ahead and capture. This guy has a short lance, so I always like capturing a short lance and a javelin. The reason why has nothing to do with Finn, really. The javelin is good for Finn later, so that he doesn't kill certain units I don't want him to. Which sounds kind of odd, but it is absolutely a requirement later on down the road. So I'm going to take this guy. I'm also going to trade the short lance. I'm going to trade that short lance back to Finn. Item management is going to be pretty difficult in this game because I'm doing it on the fly and I don't get to reset. So I could mess up item management. That would be very unfortunate. So the short lance is kind of really bad, but it's basically the only lance that I have access to with what I'm given in this chapter and what I'm given in the next several chapters that I can give to my first lance user that isn't Finn. So that's just the reason why I do that. I'm going to go ahead and visit this house here with Tanya. She gets an iron sword off this. This is a generic house. Anybody could visit this. Trade, short bow, vulnerary. visit this house. And then I get another Vulnerary. Vulneraries are very cool in this game. So in other Fire Emblem games, Vulneraries usually heal 10 HP, and that's all they heal. There is one entry where they heal 20, but in this game, they restore all HP. So they're extremely valuable. You're going to see me using those pretty much constantly because you get them all the time. So why not use them constantly? And then Halvin is going to visit his sister and get the Brave Axe. So remember how I said that Halvin's Vouge is one of the best weapons in the game, and it is a preferential to him? The Brave Axe is literally also one of the best weapons in the game, and it's not preferential to Halvin. Any character in this game with a D rank or higher axe rank can use this weapon, and it's insane because it is a double attack weapon. So that means if you attack twice, you're going to actually attack 4 times with the Brave Axe or Brave Lance or whatever. All right. Now I have to trade you the life ring. Perfect. I can trade the short lance over to Avel. Leaf does not need to use the light ring this chapter, I don't think. I think I should be able to do all the trading over here I need to. Okay, I can release you. Yeah, this is cool. Oh, shoot. I accidentally waited with Tanya, so I'm going to have to wait another turn, unfortunately. Otherwise, their items will not be on correctly. Very unfortunate. You have to be careful. Misclicks of that nature can happen quite often. I'm going to go ahead and give Halvin a Brave, or the hand axe. I think it's okay to keep the actually yeah, I think it's okay to keep that Vulnerary on him for the time being. Aside from that, that is literally everything in this chapter. All I have to do now is go to the town hall and seize with Leaf. And yeah, that was chapter 1, Warrior of Fianna. So the saving in the game is obviously just so that I, can return to this in a future stream. I don't have to worry about any of that, but I'm not going to be reloading saves because that defeats the purpose of an Ironman. Chapter 2, the Coastal Village. This is quite the interesting chapter. It's actually a chapter in which you could very easily just train up your units if you wanted. And I had a mind of doing this before. I was seriously thinking about doing something of this sort. The life ring I just gave Leaf is a permanent +7 buff to his HP, which is really great. He's going to need that because if I lose him, it is a game over. Obviously, that's not something I want. But yeah, you can absolutely train on this map, and the reason why is because hordes of pirates come from this beach here and this beach here. I will be going to all the guidance that I can to the best of my abilities. Alright, Halvin. You can go right there. Ocean can also go right here, equip the Vouge. Marty can get right hither, and then also I think I'm going to just have Tanya stay here. And of course, I need to capture using Dagdar here. He has a chance of failing this capture. I've seen it happen several times in the past, but he did not fail. That's pretty good. The only reason why I'm capturing here is just for extra weapons, because I do have a lot of axe bros here that absolutely need more weaponry. Weapons in this game are not something you would pretty much ever buy. The only weapons I can think of that are worth buying from any shop ever are things like wind tomes and light tomes. And the reason why is because those specific weapons are only purchasable in a few shops throughout the entire game, and you kind of need them. It's not even just like a desire, you actually just hardcore need them. Alright, so this is a strategy that I use with my units every single time I play. Every single time I play Thracia, I always use this strategy to get Leaf and friends up here as soon as I possibly can, so that I can visit this village, get Ronan, which is a character recruit. I do love Ronan, so I might end up using him in this this playthrough. There was a time that I didn't really like him, and that was mostly because, well, Ronan has his very big fair share of issues. Like, for instance, the dude has virtually no physical strength growth. But there are ways to patch that up if you are seriously worried about that. Having more brave bow users is amazing because it happens to be maybe top 3 best weapons in this game, which is hilarious. Fire Emblem is a very weird game. Sometimes certain weapons are good, sometimes certain weapons are just abysmal. And in the term of Thracia, bows are actually very good, whereas most of the time bows are pretty darn bad. So I think Halvin can go right here. I'm going to go ahead and equip the hand axe. Yeah, give you a vulnerary. I'm going to take a vulnerary from you. I think I'll give that hand axe to Marty, or the iron axe, not the hand axe. So I could even give him the vulnerary because I'm getting another vulnerary in this house right here. Another healing item, very, very useful. This seems like a bit spammy. Like, man, Gamerman, this game just throws items at you. It really does. So the thing is that Thracia gives you a lot of options to break the game wide open. So though the game is very difficult, the more you learn about the game, the better you become with the game. The more playthroughs you've had, the more experience you accumulate, the more interesting everything just is. The more secrets you find, the more you discover. It's just such a good game. It's honestly such a good game. I think it's peak Fire Emblem. What's cool about it too is that a lot of folks out there have this notion that it's too difficult or it's too easy. It's either one or the other. It's very weird that that's the case. That a game can actually have that polarizing of a view set. And both can kind of be right in their own little ways. Dagdar is going to heal up. This is probably strictly what you would consider unnecessary. I don't think that Dagdar needs to heal up in this situation, but I'm just going to do it anyway, just in case. And of course, Halvin is going to finish off one of Lithus's pirates here. The pirates that are absconding this village already burned down a house. That's pretty much a big shame. I'll move them in a moment. She has a vulnerary. Halvin needs a vulnerary, so I think that I'll be doing that over the next turn or so. And then what I always do is I always visit the house with Finn here. Then I move up. Finn is always with, well, almost always out of the range of these two. They can technically get another point of movement, and in that case, you would be kind of not happy about that, but yeah. So I always put Leaf on this bush here and Ronan right next. Ronan gets a support from Leaf, and also Leaf gets a 20% avoid and 2% and a 2 defense buff being on this forest tile, which is pretty great. And then of course Avel is going to get ready for the boss killing. So the reason why Avel is going to be used for boss kills in the early game is actually kind of like a necessity, kind of a bit. And that is due to the fact that many of the characters that are bosses in the first few chapters are actually insanely overpowered for this time in the game. And what's worse is gates give 10 defense and 30% avoid. So this guy actually has more avoid and defense than you're seeing here. He has 19 defense. Most of your characters do not have a means of beating through this. So, for instance, Leaf here, he actually has 16 might, or 16 attack. You'll see 12 attack because it takes the magic first. Thracia always counts the magic of the weapons, if they are magical, before they would count the physical. So what you do is you take the might here, which is actually 12, that's the physical might, and then you would add that to his strength, which is 4, and that would be 16 attack. This guy, good old Leaf, is doing Bumpkiss to Bex, or Bucks, not Bex. Why did I say Bex? His name is definitely Bucks. The Bucks, in fact. But he is incredibly overpowered. So the thing is a lot of people complain about this. You know, how in the world can that be balanced? Kaga was out of his mind. I actually think that Kaga was a genius for this, because what it did was it makes you think on your feet. You can still KO Bucks with Leaf if you truly wanted to. You just have to attack him at range, because that defense is not magical defense. It's only physical defense. So Leaf has I think it says 12 magical attack, and that is at range, right? Well, Bucks has pretty much no magical resistance to speak of. In fact, yeah, he has 3. So I would do 9 damage a hit, which isn't exactly a lot, but I could finish him off with a combination of Leaf and Avel pretty darn easily, which I find to be just really cool. I think that kind of design philosophy is just really good, and it's just unfortunate that it's kind of passed over, especially in new Fire Emblems, where the design philosophy of those games is how weeabooified can we possibly make the game. Speed Ring received. So this Speed Ring is also going to go directly to Leaf. This is going to give him +3 to his speed, which will help him quite a fair bit. I'm doing 6 times 2 here. As long as I hit both hits, Ronan will KO, which would be very nice. The more experience Ronan gets in the early game, the better. Ronan, if you're going to make him a viable competitive unit, you want to give him as much experience points as possible, as fast as you possibly can. You also want to make sure that he's getting good weapon ranks. Very unfortunate that level up. So I could KO here with Leaf. Leaf still hasn't gotten a level. I think it's fair for me to do that. If for some reason Leaf doesn't KO, like he misses a 97 hit, which is not impossible, then he would have went for Ronan. But it's okay. That was a KO, a clean one, and Leaf is getting his first level up. Ah, I see. That's how the game's gonna be, is it? Oh man. Alright. So I could go here and attack Bucks, but I only have a 73 hit. I think I want Leaf's support so that she gets that +10. It's very important, at least in my mind. The +10 going from 73 to 80% or 83% chance is just far and away better. Bucks, I don't want to waste a bunch of the flame sword. The problem is when you miss with weapons, you use up their usage, especially magic weapons. Finn will stick around just in case he is needed. Ronan can join the fray down here. I think I will go ahead and attack one of these guys with the Vouge. Seems like a bit of a waste, but the thing is, these guys can actually pose a threat against Ocean if enough of them hit him. You definitely don't want that happening. And then now we can attack with the Flame Sword. It is not a KO, unfortunately. So, what I could do is just wait a turn, just in case for some reason Avel doesn't KO, then I could finish him off with Leaf. And I think that would be fine, especially since I'm going to have plenty of turns to do what I need to do for the rest of this chapter. And yep, that's going to be the end of my turn. Only one of these units should be able to attack Ocean up north. The others I'm going to take out over the next turn. Hopefully Ronan will be able to get some experience points as well, but I don't want to put him in enemy fire because Ronan is quite frail. Pretty decent level up. Speed is always good. Thank you, Ocean. Halvin. And his special ability is Vantage. That means he always gets to go first in every fight. It's the reason why the Brave Axe is given to him. It's basically like if anybody attacks him at one range and he has the Brave Axe, he's always going first and he's always attacking twice, which is a pretty cool combo, if you want my honest opinion about it. Alright, so I'm not doing anything there. And Ocean takes down another of Lith's pirates. Like I said, he really needs the experience points. He is a fantastic member of the team and just all around good to have, so. All right. The Bucks. The Bucks is about to get the defeated. Oh, so she adepted. This is a problem with Avel. I would have rather her not waste that Flame Sword use and give the KO to somebody else, but there's nothing that can be done about that. She does get another level up, though, which is very interesting. About the only way you're going to see a level up on a unit such as Avel, as high of a level as she is. And an extra point of defense is pretty darn good, honestly. Survivability is always appreciated on this girl. You'd think that that's a funny statement. It is actually kind of a funny statement because she kind of can't die in most of the chapters she's involved in. Very weird. So this is going to be my last turn. I'm going to give Leaf the speed ring. I'm going to attack whomever I can and just seize as soon as I possibly can. That was a pretty decent level up Halvin. I don't typically use Halvin long term because I find that there's a lot better units than him. Doesn't mean he's bad by any means. By any stretch of the means is he bad. But, you know, 13 times 2, this may allow Ronan to get a KO here. Depends on what Ocean decides to do. And unfortunately, Ocean was like, nah, I'm going to get that KO, and I'm getting that experience points. All right. Steel Axe, Iron Axe, I'm doing 14. I think Steel Axe is better here if I hit. If I don't hit, it's actually worse. Doesn't really matter. Okay, Tanya will be able to get some experience points here. Totally unnecessary, but you just never know. In an Ironman run, it could be that somebody like Tanya saves my run in the sense that I may end up having to use her or something of the sort. Unfortunately, she just missed an 88. Very saddening. And Halvin can go ahead and finish you off. After this, it's going to be pretty much the end of this chapter. I would not have even attempted that attack there if there was a chance of Halvin dying. I'm going to be quite a bit more careful than I typically am. Speed Ring, I'm not using that on Leaf this chapter because that would take up another turn. There's going to be turns he's doing nothing next chapter, so that's why I've decided to just do that. Now, going on to the first Gaiden chapter, Chapter 2X, the Corsair Isles. How you get this chapter is very interesting. All you have to do is keep alive all villages in the previous chapter. You don't have to visit them, you just have to keep them alive. It's actually kind of hard to fail, by the way. Alright, so this is the first, what I would call kind of like difficulty curve chapters, where you can absolutely fail if you do something wrong, or if you put units in the wrong positions. I have to be very, very careful about how I take on this chapter. I have to dismount with Finn here. So dismounting is just an ability that you can do with your mounted units. They lose some stats depending on class, and they also lose movement. He had 8 movement, I believe, and then he loses 3. All mounted units lose 3 upon dismounting. And what this does, unfortunately, it means he cannot use his primary weapon type of lances. He's stuck using only his sword. He cannot use swords while mounted, so it's kind of interesting. What I would say is very important with Finn is if you plan on using him long term, his D rank in swords, that is at 30 uses out of 50, means that he only actually needs to use 20 weapon attacks with a sword in order to get to C rank. C rank is the best rank for swords in the game. So this is intentional. This is quite intentional. What it is that he is supposed to be a you can use forever in this game unit. Not going to necessarily spoil it. Some people have probably watched my Let's Play or other people's Let's Plays. But in this game in particular, in the late game, mounted units are not really good. So Avel got a movement star there, and I haven't really talked about that yet. So in the personal data, you have affiliation, authority, vigor, travel, movement, fatigue, and condition. So vigor, I'm being very careful how I say this because, you know, YouTube is evil, or invigoration. I guess that would be a better way to say it, or just movement stars. I'm just going to call them movement stars. You have a 5% chance per movement star every turn that you perform one action to move again. Now, this can only proc once per turn under normal conditions. So it cannot proc a second time. So if I move again with Avel, she cannot get this proc again. But she actually has a 10% chance every time she commits to an action every single turn to just be able to move again, which is kind of insanely busted. And it's one of the cooler features of Thracia. Not only can you grow your movement, which you can't do in any other Fire Emblem game, by the way, you can also move again, which you also can't do in any other Fire Emblem game. Are you maybe potentially seeing why I love this game? So because of this, I'm able to do something here that's a bit cheeky. Normally, I wouldn't be able to KO this opponent on the very first turn, but I'm excited. I'm excited because what this means is that things are going to be a little bit more efficient, a little bit better. Avel's going to get to the front quicker, and also it's going to be a little bit less dangerous for my Ironman run on this chapter. 2X is not the most dangerous of chapters, but there are some funny moments in it that can be kind of harrowing. So right here, yep, I'll move you right here. Avel, I think it's not necessarily good to move her all the way out front. But for now, I'm just going to call it at that. Make sure I equip the Iron Blade on her so she doesn't waste uses of a weapon I don't want her to waste. Alright. Ocean will also be going to the rightmost party. I think Ronan can go here as well. Tanya and Marty obviously go south. So I do like splitting up my party in two separate ways. One going south, one going east. And yeah, that's pretty much it. There's reasons for that because the game has different objectives in this map. Now the south objective is actually of no importance if you really and truly don't care, but there are 2 torches that you can get in this map in the south. And those are super good later on in the game. Super good. They're not necessarily useful now, especially in the south, because by the time you get to the torches, the enemies are typically routed. This is another chapter where you can train on it. There are a good amount of reinforcements. It gets pretty dangerous, though, because the reinforcements get much stronger, and you can be overwhelmed pretty quick. Then I'll just put Halvin right here. I like moving my less important party first, just because it makes sense. And Marty and them are all going to move south, whereas the rest of my units are moving east. And yes, I have a friend over there. An enemy, actually. He is very important because capturing him will give me another vulnerary. There's a couple of captures I do in this map, and one is quite a bit later. Actually, this is not him. This is definitely not him. It's a guy who comes across the bridge in a moment. The guy who comes across the bridge in a moment, I think he has an axe, a vulnerary, and a torch. That's what I need. It's not this guy. This guy can go ahead and self-destruct on one of my units here. Oh. Is it him? I might have made a big mistake there. That might have been the guy I needed to capture in order to get a torch. It's not really a big deal, but I do remember, I recall thinking like, oh, you know, even if Aval gets a movement star, it's better not to have her go as far forward as possible. So I think I messed that up quite a bit, but it's okay. The torch isn't necessary, it's just useful, especially for the viewer's sake. Oh, okay, it's him. It's him. Good, 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 good. I'm gonna have to check it after this turn. Yes, yes, it is him. So he has the torch, which is very nice. So what I can do here is I could do a little bit of damage. If he had one more attack speed than he does, this would be totally unviable because he would attack Leaf twice. So he's doing 16. If he were to attack Leaf twice, that means he is going to, well, potentially KO Leaf, because 16 times 2 is 32. Leaf only has a max HP at this current time of 30. Because I have 3 attack speed less and not 4, he will not attack me twice. I also have a chance to attack him twice. Sounds weird, but Leaf has Adept, which is an attack speed % chance to attack twice. It is a skill proc. It is not a game mechanic. So a game mechanic is your attack speeds varying, allowing you to double attack. If your attack speed is 4 over your opponent, or you attack twice. If it's 4 under, you get attacked twice. That's just how it goes. Whereas something like Adept is an attack speed % chance to perform a consecutive attack. This can potentially allow you to attack 4 times, or even more if you're using something like a Brave weapon. Alright, capture time. This could potentially fail. If it does, I will have to KO this unit with Avel, and it did not fail, which is very nice. Ooh, also very nice. I appreciate that. I mean, I don't appreciate trading here and messing that up, but whatever. Steel axe, steel bow, and then the torch. I could trade again. I think I'm going to go ahead and do this. Yeah, the steel bow is unusable by any member of my team at this current moment. I'm just going to go ahead and release. Avel will be the one I use the torch on. That's the second time I've accidentally pressed wait when I wasn't trying to, and that is going to kill me later. It just 100% will. So I need to kind of get that under control. All right, Tanya, do some damage here. Yep, I figured you would avoid. 13 hit is pretty much nothing. And then, at 9 times 2 with the iron sword, Finn is KOing here. This is very good. This means he'll have 2 more uses of his, or 2 less uses he has to get to C rank. As you can see, each weapon use gives you a weapon experience point. C rank is very good for him. Back up just a little bit with Halvin, because I don't want Halvin getting all of the experience here. I actually want Finn to get the overwhelming majority of the experience. This guy is a bit of a shame, though, getting in the way of Dagdar moving. So I'm going to have to KO him to get him out of the way. Yep. Finn can go right there. All 4 of you can stay over there and get your stuff done. I think it is just kind of for the best for me to attack. Ah, man. Steel axe. I'm literally one-shotting, and I will attack twice, potentially more, because Dagdar has a very interesting skill in this game. A cost. Basically, if you have more attack speed and more HP, you get to add 1 more round of combat. This means that both you and the opponent get to attack more than 1 time. This is actually the reason why you saw a bow-using brigand in the previous chapter attack Dagdar twice, even though he has much higher speed than pretty much all of them ever will. And then use the torch just to give the viewer a little bit of a view. Leaf is going to move here, and he's also going to use the light brand. So the light brand isn't just a busted strong preferential weapon. 80 hit, 12 might, 0 crit, 1-2 range, 10 weight, magical weapon. You can use 1 use, so it has 60 uses, just 1 use to heal all HP, and you can do this as many times as you want, until it's broken, that is. Alright, these yahoos can get in line, and that is the end of my turn. Awesome. More experience points for Finn, the better. Alright, cool. Very decent level up, very decent. Strength is always appreciated. You're going to do more damage. So what this will allow me to do here is I will be able to get some experience points on Tanya. Oh, well, actually, no. Finn KO'd. That 1 extra strength was enough to get him to the point where he is capable of KOing that brigand, which is very nice. So he'll get to KO the other brigand as well. In a moment, I'll be able to move Tanya back to a fort so that she can get a torch from said fort. Awesome. And Finn, 13 times 2, you're actually KOing here. Very nice. Get rid of the bow units. Tanya can attack as well. And she actually hit both times. Very nice. Level up. And Tanya gets an extra point of strength, skill, and speed. The magic is good too because she'll never do anything with that in attack. There is no such thing as a magical bow in this game, though there are a bunch of magical swords. And there is like no magical weapons that she can use. However, magic, like I said, doubles as offense and defense. So that's actually very good for her. That means that she'll be able to defend from magical attacks later on down the road. Now, I just have to get these units rolling. No, that's not good enough. So the Iron Blade it is. Avel she really does pull her weight. One of the things that I'm not opposed to in any Fire Emblem game is allowing your Jagan characters or your overpowered units that you get in the start to do some stuff. And the reason why is because, well, it just makes sense. I am just doing that talk conversation so I don't accidentally proc it later. It just makes sense to allow all of your units to do something, to give you the opportunity to use all of the tools that are at your disposal. It's one of the things about Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem is taken so seriously at times and so literally, and some people play it in such a way that it's basically like, well, if you're not playing it just like I do, you're playing it inefficiently, you might as well not be playing the game. And man, I just find that attitude to be kind of really gross. There are many different ways to play these games. Alright, I think, yep, he has a hand axe. That means I don't want him to necessarily fight with... Well, I could put you here and give you the short bow. And then Ronan will just move up. Tanya needs to move back and get to the fort. And then Finn is going to actually mount back up and wait here, and he's going to get a torch as well. And that's pretty great. I'm going to be giving that over to Dagdar at some point because he's the one who actually needs it. These two can go back and kind of just guard the upper space. I don't want them to be fighting anymore, but I also don't want Tanya to be blocked off in any way, shape, or form. It's not likely, but it can happen if you wait too long. Nice. Aval just crits and KOs. Very, very interesting. Aval literally cannot be killed. This is a bit of contention with some people, you know, like, why have a unit that literally cannot be killed? But that's because she is important to the plot, not just the story, but important physically to the plot in the game, functionally. She cannot die in the first 5 chapters that you have her. And the reason why that's necessary is because if she does die in any of those chapters, well, a big part of the plot just dies. It's gone. So not only does she have adept, attack speed % chance to perform a consecutive attack, she has Miracle Plus. This is a skill that can only be seen on map hidden data. If you don't have that on, you can't see this skill. Nullifies enemy staves and status conditions, avoids all fatal damage. She cannot die. Now, she can still be captured, by the way. And if Avel was to be captured, and the only way she's going to be is if you were to unequip all her weapons, because pretty much nobody can capture her otherwise, She's just too fast. She's just too strong. She's too powerful. Endgame bosses wouldn't be able to capture her. So if somebody captures her and then you finish the map and that unit escaped with her, you do get a game over condition with that, and that's just an instant loss, which is kind of really funny, honestly. All right, Ronan. Potentially get a you're not getting a KO here. There's no way. You're gonna have to crit or adept. Would be nice if you did either. Okay, he did not do either. No crit, no adept. He does have 3 movement stars, though. I think he has the most out of all your units at this point in the game. So that's a 15% chance he could just say, I'm moving again, regardless of the fact that he just ended his turn. But Ocean took serious note of that and said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and KO him myself. Gosh, man. Ocean, that's a terrible level. That's almost as terrible as Leaf's previous levels. What a shame. I could do that. I'm not going to do that. Let's go ahead and KO you. This next axe unit that's right above the sword unit is a unit that I do like capturing. The best way to do that, though, is actually to give him a decent target that isn't Avel. So I'm going to give him Dagdar. Hopefully he goes for the Dagdar bait. Otherwise, you know, that's not going to be the greatest thing for me. And I think that's pretty much it for this time. Okay, he did actually go for it. See, I was not expecting him to want to attack Dagdar. But, I mean, he would still do 7 damage if he hit. So he could have done 14 damage total. Yeah, so here's the thing. He actually doesn't do enough damage to KO Leaf. Wow, that's pretty cool. He doesn't have a crit on him either, so he's doing 14 damage times 2. I would do 8 damage. I don't think that's enough to justify that. I really just don't. Capture Brave Axe. Big possibility here that I don't capture this guy. I did not, but I don't think he's low enough that he will use a vulnerary. The enemies will use healing items or go to things like forts and heal up if they are low enough. And I think that because this is above 50% of his HP total, I think he's not going to... Oh, well, nice movement star, Ronan. Very nice. Didn't do anything, but I appreciate it nonetheless. And the torch was received. Very nice. So that torch is staying on Tanya. She needs it for a later chapter. Dagdar also needs a torch. He'll need it for a later chapter. That's not going to be something I'm going to worry about right at this moment. But it is something to keep in mind because, you know, there is a bit of a difficulty in making sure that you have the right items on your units at certain times in this game. It's going to become very important and practical soon. Capture Brave Axe yet again. He has to hit both his hits. Okay, if he didn't hit both of his hits there, I was going to just KO him. Alright, so I can not only trade, I can also take. That's really good. Iron bow is way better than the short bow. That's what you'll be keeping from this point forward. And I can take a short bow off of you and a vulnerary off of you. Very nice. The short bow is kind of useless at this point. It's been useless the entire time, but it did perform a function in the sense that I could use it on Dagdar for a ranged attack, and that was helpful. to the small extent I did have it or use it, and the potential of using it later. Plus, it just gives Ronan an extra weapon later on, because like I said, you don't want to buy weapons in this game. There's many other ways to make sure you go about dealing with a lack of weaponry, and so on and so forth. So right here is kind of like a sub-boss in this chapter. He is Shiva, a Myrmidon. He has a killing edge, so high critical hit rate. And a lot of people fall into the trap of wanting to capture this dude, but he is on a fort, so he has plus 10 defense and plus 20% avoid. And it is possible. It's very possible if you use Finn to do it. But as you can see, Finn is on the other side of the map. I don't ever do this with him. I don't think it's all that useful to capture somebody like Shiva. So unfortunately, you're just not going to see me do something like that. Now, I will grant that an extra killing edge is pretty insanely good. At this point in the game, I can 1000% see why somebody would want an extra killing edge. They are such, and I mean such, good weapons. Short Lance has to stay on Avel. The steel bow can go to Ronan for the time being. He doesn't need it. He's not going to use it. That's irrelevant, but it's just how things are. Now, what I have to do is Lithus here is a thief. He is the actual boss of this chapter, and his stats are pretty darn pathetic. He's on a gate, 10 defense, 30% avoid, like we've seen before. But what's interesting is that his statistics are insanely bad, but he also does not come with a weapon. He comes with a Hoar Scroll and a lockpick. So the lockpick allows the thief to open up doors, chests, or lower drawbridges, whereas the Hoar Scroll modifies growth rates and blocks critical hits. You cannot possibly be critical hit if you have one of these in your inventory. It's literally impossible. But this makes it so that he has a plus 30% HP growth, a plus 10% strength growth, and a minus 10% luck growth. This is irrelevant for an enemy because enemies don't grow. They have random stat deviations. Any enemy like Lithus, which is a named boss character, typically doesn't have stat deviations. Typically, there are some exceptions to this, quite a few exceptions, unfortunately. So it makes me sound like I'm a bit of a fibber. You're not supposed to battle him. You're actually just supposed to capture him because he's a free capture. And then you do not take his stuff, you do not release him. And I'm just going to seize. The reasons why you do not take his stuff and you do not release him is because you actually get him as a recruited unit, a thief. Thieves are very powerful in Thracia, very powerful. They're not as insanely busted. Chapter 3, Kerberos Gate. They're not as insanely busted as they are in some other entries, and the reason why is because capture exists in this game. But it doesn't really matter because stealing is still good. So if user outspeeds, a target can steal an item with less weight than the user's constitution. So you want to grow Lithus's constitution in order to steal things. There are a lot of things in this game that cannot be stolen. So like the short bow here, it is 6 weight. It cannot be stolen because it is the same as his constitution. 8 weight on the short lance can't be stolen. You know what can be stolen though? Fire tomes, 4 weight. This is the first time I'm fighting a mage in the game. Just so happens that I'm gonna have to fight a second mage too. This one has L Fire, which is the strongest fire tome in the game, if you can believe it. It's pretty much a sad story, very sad story for fire tome users. Just don't have really good tomes. Lobos is the general boss of the chapter. And this chapter is kind of very interesting. So one of the reasons why you noticed that a lot of your units had door keys when you can't use them at any previous point in the game is because these door keys are actually so that you can't possibly soft lock yourself on this particular chapter. Now there are ways to get more door keys. Like for instance, once you open up a door key, you can get a door key from him. This is in case you don't have Lithus. When I do eventually get on to a non-Gaiden playthrough of Fire Emblem 5 Thracia 776, it's going to be kind of a really rough and difficult playthrough. I've played it before many times, solo, obviously not on stream or recording. But you have to think outside of the box, because you don't have thief utility, you don't have lockpick, you have to open up only a limited amount of doors, so on and so forth. It's very interesting how that works. So in this chapter, you have a side objective, which is each one of these little kids. You got Ubel here, Carepray, Romeo, and Lucia. So all four of these belong to a certain house. Romeo has to be taken to this house right here. Carepray must be taken to this house. Lucia here, and Ubel here. And the reason why is because each one of them gives you an item or a recruitment either now or later, and it's very important to get all that stuff. So there's multiple ways you can tackle this chapter. You can go the side route, which I've never done, but you can absolutely do it. It lets you cut and go directly to the boss. You don't have to bypass this situation, and you could just skip going for Ubel, Carepray, Romeo, and Lucia. This is kind of stupid though, because if you can get them, you would get them. They give you such busted things. There is a vendor here. I didn't really talk about the vendors before because they're kind of useless in my humble opinion at this point in the game. Now, they do become useful. I'm not saying they're always useless, but at this point in the game, they basically only sell vulneraries, and maybe you'll see like an iron weapon or two. You can abscond those by, capturing people if you really wanted. The supply is here. This is actually very necessary. I'm going to be using this at the end of the chapter to make sure my units have the correct and proper items and weapons on them for the next several chapters. The Kerberos arc is ended here. This is Kerberos Gate after all. And when it ends, you get whole new characters and whole new items, and certain of your characters bring over items to the next chapter. Those characters would be Lithus and Leaf. Whatever items are on them will be brought over in the next chapter in the form of being in chests that you have to open with lockpicks, because you're, well, I'll tell you when you see it. You'll see it, you'll know it then. But an interesting thing is that this guy right here is actually not just some random, bishop over here attacking you with Hellfire. He has a door key and a chest key on him. Very strange. If you wait to turn 15, I believe it is, it's either turn 15 or 20, but I'm pretty sure it's 15. He will go up and open this door. And then he will open, I believe it's this chest. This chest has Meteor. Meteor is a fire tome that is not as strong as good old Hellfire, but it's 3 to 10 range. So instead of just 1 to 2 range, as you can see, this guy has an attack range of just 2 spaces beyond his movement range. So that means from this sitting point, he can attack up to here. 1 range means you can only attack adjacent, right next to your unit. Whereas 2 range means further. So 3 to 10 range means that he can reach pretty much everywhere inside of the fortress, the Kerberos Gate. And what he will go for first is the 4 children. He will absolutely go for the 4 children first. He will kill them first and then go for your units. Most playthroughs, most runs, most intelligent people would never let this happen, but it can happen. It absolutely can happen. So Leaf is the first unit that I like to move first, or that's kind of redundant. He's the first unit I like to move. Just going to rescue here. Get ready to drop him with a unit. Alright, Helvin. I could have rescue dropped him with Ronan to get him 1 extra space. That was a bit of a misplay there, but it happens. One thing I need to do is I need to get all of my items off of good old Marty, because he is actually not useful any further. One way I could do this I think I'll wait on that right now. What I will do, however, is give you the other torch. This is just in case I accidentally forget it later. The reason being is because if she has both the torches, it won't be such a big deal. Now, she does need a vulnerary, So one of my units that, okay, Marty, who does have a vulnerary, will obviously give his away. Back in the, rear here, there's just 3 lone soldiers that are kind of chasing you. That's, I guess, the story behind it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave Ocean in the rear to deal with them. Now, the best plan of action to get rid of all 3 in just one fell swoop is to just use the Vouge. If you want to conserve uses on this weapon, it would be better to just use the Iron Axe, and that's actually what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to use the Iron Axe. That means these 2 will attack, I'll KO them, and then I can KO the bow unit later on. Ocean is not going to be useful. He's going to straggle back for the entirety of this map, so it's not really a big deal that he's only going to get these 3 KOs, and then, even if he takes a little bit of time doing that, it's okay. It's perfectly fine. A good level up. So cool thing though is that just like the first unit he fought that was guarding his house in the very first chapter I played, these guys have a higher level. And why that's important is because that means whoever stays behind is going to KO higher level enemies and get more experience points. It's a trade-off. Because basically, if you stay behind to KO these units, you're pretty much not going to be useful the rest of the map. Now, Ocean will still have a use. He's going to be helpful with the rescue dropping that I'm going to be doing with the 4 children to get them to their houses. But I think I'm just going to go ahead and use the Vouge here. A little bit wasteful, but I just want to make sure he does absolutely get KO'd. But the reason being is, well, because I need to make sure that all of the children unit get to their houses so that I can get the wonderful stuff from it all. All right. Yep, right here is fine. Give him a torch. You got to make sure he has one. The vulnerary is good. 2 uses should be fine for that vulnerary, as long as I don't use any further this chapter. I could just throw these on him as well. Marty is not useful the rest of this chapter for anything other than just ferrying units around. This guy right here is going to come prey to Halvin. Halvin's going to sit here and wait for him to attack up front, which is very nice. Avel can take the front line as well. So can good old Dagdar. Dagdar is actually very great for this because, there's some bow units here. I don't want these guys to be fought by my other units, nor to surround them, especially like Leaf or anything of the sort. These guys are just wasted experience points. They're not really that big of a deal. So it's not like I'm doing anything, actually wasteful by this. The only thing that stinks a little bit is, oh man. I guess this placement of Avel is very unfortunate. I could give her the flame sword, but if they go to attack her instead of him just because they do more damage to her, that would be kind of a bit sad. I think what I could do is put Ronan here. Let him potentially get attacked by one of these units. And then I will just move Leaf here. So for Dagdar to solve this bit of an issue, I'm just going to go up here and attack with the steel axe, which I think would be fine. He missed twice, but then decided a critical hit is exactly what is needed. All right. So, man, I think this should be pretty fine. I wouldn't really want him to be KO'd. Okay, he has 3 defense. What can I do here? I don't think he will be KO'd, actually. So yeah, I can actually block the way a bit with Ronan. That's pretty cool. Getting some movement stars on Lithus going, he has a 10% chance to move again, would be pretty darn good for this section of the game. Oh, see, that would have been nice. Alright, I'm going to take both of these. I'm going to take all of this. I'm actually going to give all of this to Lithus so he can put it in the supply. I just need to remember to do such. So a unit I have not talked about yet is Safi. Safi is my first healer. Heal staff restores 10 HP plus user's magic to an ally. This is the only game in the franchise where you can miss your staff uses. A lot of people think this is frustrating. I think it's actually quite cool. It adds to the whole RPG mechanics of the game, in my humble opinion. She also has the ability to, with her preferential staff, the Hammern, restore an ally's staff or weapon to pristine condition, and she gets 5 uses of these. This is not replaceable. These are the only 5 uses you will get in this game. So you do have to use them kind of pretty well. Typically, most people who play this game will maybe use 1 or 2 on a preferential weapon that's broken, because in this game, when weapons break, they don't disappear from your inventory. They just become broken weapons, which means that that's pretty darn good. You can repair them. You don't have to worry about them getting to low uses or like around 1 or 2 uses and then heal them, repair them. Because in most other Fire Emblem games, the weapons break. They just disappear and they're gone from your inventory. Whereas that's not the case here. And a lot of people use Hammern on Warp. That's probably what you're going to see me do a lot because Warp is just insanely good. At least once I have the option of it. I'm going to be spamming Warp quite often because I think the only way that I'm going to beat a lot of the chapters of this game in an Ironman setting is by doing the whole Warp boss killer in, and then kill boss, and then Warp leaf in, and seize, and just win immediately. Very nice, Halvin. Unfortunately, you did not KO there, but that's A-okay. Yep, you're doing your little bit of damage. It does stink for Dagdar. I'm probably going to have to heal up Dagdar, honestly. Which is a bit of a shame. Yeah, especially because he got hit by fire. Oh, especially because he got hit by 2 fires. Good grief. That could have been terrible. Alright, you can take all of these weapons. Alright. And getting rid of you would be great. Awesome job, Halvin. You have done exactly what I was hoping for there. Very nice. Very nice indeed. That was an incredible level up. So this is the perfect spot for Marty to be. Marty's going to basically be given a Romeo, and then he's going to just be able to move directly to the house, because you can do stuff like that. Ocean's also going to be doing that, but for the bottom houses, which is why I don't really mind that, you know, he was staying back and doing his own thing. Alright, so she can only move 5 spaces. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I gotta keep Dagdar basically where he's at in order to make this somewhat viable. But is that possible? Potentially? Alright, I think I'll KO you here. Wow, she missed. She missed. That could have been a very serious issue right there. All right. Wow. 2% chance to crit. So I don't think I'm going to abide that. And this guy has a 5 movement, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yes, he cannot hit here. I am just going to go ahead and finish you off with Dagdar straight away. Dagdar is going to be healed up by Safi next turn. Very unfortunate that he just missed. All right. 16. I am doing enough here to KO, but if I miss... Oh, good. Problems could have ensued there already, and I'm only at Chapter 3. Technically the 4th chapter in the game, obviously, because, you know, good old Gaiden Chapter 2X, but, you know, that's being pretty pedantic there. What I will do is I'm just going to block the way with Ronin. So I did have an out. No movement star as of yet. That's very saddening, but it's time to end the turn. All right, you decided to attack Avel. I'm assuming that's because Leaf could attack back with a magical attack, and he probably had next to no magical resistance. All right. This is a bit of a complicated scenario here. I think what I want to do here is just drop a hammer on this good old Yahoo. Yeah, you're not seeing that wrong. That's 50 attack because that was an effective weapon. So effective against armored units. How effective weapons work in this game is that the might of the weapon, which in this case is 12, is multiplied by 3. So he actually has a 36 mighted weapon. Plus 14 strength equals 50. Now, of course, I did move out of the way, so I'm not capable of healing. Which, you know, is pretty genius for me, but... oh well. I will use this door key. And then I will also steal this guy's fire tome. Now he has no weapon. You can literally just yoink a weapon. Literally yoink it right off of his hands. And now he's going to try to run away because, you know, he's unarmed. I can't attack him twice there, so there's virtually no point in me attacking. Halvin and Tanya can get ready to help out with the caravan of moving children. Basically, the rest of this chapter is going to become pretty much a solo fest of Avel and Dagdar, which is a bit saddening for people who don't necessarily want to see pre-promotes rule the roost. But that's just how that goes. It really is how that goes. The best way to play this game is to take advantage of every tool you have, not just the tools you want to use, or not just the tools you've been told to use. Because that's the issue, is that Thracia was designed around all these tools. It wasn't just like a mishmash of games that were, or of a game that was put together, you know, haphazardly with these concepts. That's just not how this goes. So... yes, I can move you here. Steel axe. Safi can heal. decent. I'm gonna probably have to heal again because Dagdar is my primary fighter for this bishop, and I'm pretty sure Dagdar has... Okay, he has 2 magic, but he still loses to 2 rounds of combat from this bishop. He does need to be healed again. Open this door. And then I'm going to rescue... Let's go with Romeo first. All right. And the Brave Lance. See, this is kind of a pointless thing to do, but I guess Finn wouldn't mind a few drops of experience points more. Well, actually, that was a bit more than I thought he'd get. So, you know what? That's pretty good. Level 10. Awesome. He can already promote. And Tanya can get ready for the caravan. Halvin also. I don't think I need Halvin up there. Not too sure at this moment. Ocean is fine here. Well, actually, no. I want him here because then I'll give him Ubel, and then he can go straight to that house instead. Lucia is somebody I always take to the house with Finn. It's so that Finn can get the item for the end of this chapter, so I don't have to waste time, because it is a waste of time. And then the item from Romeo's house is something you have to get first if you want it to go on any one of your units, which I do because it's just great for survivability for Leaf. Leaf, again, is the game over condition, so making him as survivable as possible is just what you want to do. Very nice. She's getting better statistics than one could hope. Alright, Short Lance. I don't think you're going to do much against Avel. She is, after all, insanely good. One of the better Jagans in the series. Though I don't think she counts as a true Jagan, and that is due to the fact that, well, she just doesn't work the same as other units that you would consider a Jagan. Alright. Give. And yeah, so immediately that little chain, I was able to move Romeo from this position. Well, technically this position because he was rescued right there. All the way down here in a single turn, just by smart play, and that's pretty cool. So the shield ring increases defense by 2, vanishes after use. This is something going directly to Leaf. Basically, the rest of this game's stat boosters I'm going to be selling. I think there's only going to be one more that I use, maybe 2. Because I can think of like a speed ring and a life ring that would be pretty decent. Other than that, I'm going to sell them all because I don't want to necessarily use the arena to grind. Because when I'm playing a non-Ironman run, I can reset if my units die in the arena. I cannot do that in this run. So it might just be better for me not to tempt fate. And all right, Leaf, you can go ahead and grab a KO here. Get this guy out of the way so that the rest of my units can move forward. decent level up. He does need skill. Leaf does typically struggle getting some of his statistics early on. He has an attack speed of 5, which is pretty good right now because, very frankly, at the start, using the light brand, he has an attack speed of 0. And, yeah, you can see why that could potentially be a problem. So, let's see. I think Careprey will be who I capture, or not really capture, but pick up with you. Safi can heal Dagdar. Oh, she missed. Oh, well, she's doubling. See, this is another thing that can happen in Thracia that can't happen in any other Fire Emblem game, is that you can double. The formula for missing, or the accuracy for staves, is actually kind of interesting. I can't remember exactly what it is, but the formula for doubling is, I think, your magic, skill, and speed. Or is it skill, speed, and luck? It might be magic, skill, and speed. I'm not entirely sure. You just add those together and you divide them by 2, and I think that's your chance there. It's very interesting. I really do just think that this game was just cut from a different cloth. Gone you are. Very nice. And I can move up Lithus pretty much as far as I want here. I think here will be fine. And that'll be the end of my turn. This chapter doesn't have very much left in it. I'm going to be defeating the boss and the sub-boss momentarily, which is very nice. And then I have a few side objectives to do. Like I said, I have to deliver all the kids to the houses. I have to deal with the supply. And I also have to get the chest in the northernmost part of the chapter. Those are very good objectives. All right, let's see how you do here. 15 times, or 16 times 2. I am KOing you, Lobos. Oh, I missed. That's incredible. Why that's incredible is because the dude... Oh, wait, no, the dude doesn't have a healing item. That's pretty good. Hammer? Let's try it. Perfect. You fools! More like you're the fool, Lobos. You thought you could stand up against a hammer being swung from the sky. So, that's really funny. Dagdar just got a 5% magic increase. That's a 1 out of every 20 levels chance. That's amazing. That's amazing. Because the crazy thing about it is Dagdar's big weakness is magic, especially at range, because he can't deal with that, and he will cause pretty much every unit who uses magic to attack him multiple times. Let's go ahead and take the hammer. You don't need that anymore. Ah, see, that's sad. That is pretty sad. Oh well, there's nothing you could do about that. Careprey. And 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We can just put you right there. And then you will be returned to your home pretty soon. Very nice. The end of my turn yet again. And again, like I said, this is basically the end of the chapter. I am very close. I think, let's see, capture, Brave Axe. Well now, there's some sadness here going on. I think I need to be a little bit more safe about this. Ubel is next to be grabbed up. I can just pick up both, honestly. And then give you... Ah, see, this is kind of a bit of a shame. Shield ring, give back to you. I should have traded that. Marty will be able to go to Carepray's house next. Halvin needs to trade this item up, and I need to get it to Leaf as soon as possible, so I'm not wasting too much time on turns here. You know, this isn't some kind of speed run or anything of that sort, so it's not like it truly matters, but it's still better to just go faster than slow. So there is that. Light brand. So I'm going to do 5 damage here. That's a whole lot of nothing in the grand scheme of things, but it could help. Alright, attacking twice. I could have technically attacked 3 or 4 times there had I procced some adepts, but that just did not happen. Brave Axe. So I'm doing 14 times 2. Now he doesn't have any crit on me anymore, which is pretty good, and I do have a 77 chance of hitting, so this could be fine. At least I'm hoping so. I will attack 4 times. Nice, nice. Dagdar, good job. Very good job, in fact. And then I can release. Alright, doors are opening. Who has Lucia? You have Lucia. Alright, Finn, you're going to go to the house for Lucia. Careprey. Now, what Careprey gives you is nothing at this current time, but in Chapter 7, you get an insanely good reward. So, it's definitely worth being mindful of that. An insanely good reward. I will be showing it off and mentioning it, as long as I remember, when and if I get to that point. Alright, Leaf needs to move on over. Well, not technically yet. Oh, man. Supply, give all of this. Doesn't need to stay in his inventory. I think it would be better if Dagdar had an iron axe. Like, far and away better. Very funny how Avel almost used up her iron blade. I've pretty much never done that in any of my playthroughs, which is very interesting to say the least. Alright. So what I'm going to do here, trade, you can take the shield ring, and I'm going to take the kid. I'm going to do some more trading shenanigans here. Shield ring. We have 7 movement. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So right here, and then she has 6 movement. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I can go right here. Unfortunately, I don't think I can reach here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh wait, maybe I can. Maybe I can. Maybe I was misunderstanding my own movement spaces there. So this is just part of the game that takes a lot of concentration, so that's why I'm being a little bit more quiet than normal. Okay, so I was wrong. This chest here is Armor Slayer, so 30 effective might against armored units. Really powerful, extremely powerful, especially later on in the game and for certain points that some people think are a little bit deleterious to use it on, but it is very good. This is going to be the Meteor. Very good sellable. That's pretty much all that is. Okay, so I do have an iron axe I can get. Supply. Take. This is important because the iron axe is just better for consistency's sake. When good old Dagdar comes back, it has 10 extra hit, which can literally make or break a run. Literally. So I think it's just for the best to go ahead and put that on him. Now I need to start my shield ring trade. Again, this is just so awesome. Being able to do these trade chains is just... It's something you don't really get to utilize or see a lot in other games. And it's because there's not really instances where other Fire Emblem games require this kind of strategy. Which is very weird, because they're supposed to be strategy, medieval war simulators. But they're kind of not. At least not good ones. Many of the newer ones especially, but just all in all. Alright. I just have one more turn, and then I'll be able to take care of the other kids. The only thing is, though, is I actually need to get rid of this iron sword I've got on me. So Lithus has the Brave Axe on him. He needs to get rid of the Steel Axe. He needs to keep the Brave Axe, and I need to keep the Light Brand. Those are the only two weapons that I want to take into the following chapter. If you take any more than that, you're kind of severely handicapping yourself, which sounds kind of funny, but it is true. So what I think I'm going to do here is I'm just going to give over my Iron Sword to Safi. So I only have the Light Brand. And then supply, give the Steel Axe. So I'll have the Brave Axe and the Light Brand, and that's all that's coming with me in the next chapter. Do have to be careful. Dagdar has his weapons on him as he needs. Tanya has her items and weapons. She does. That's perfectly fine. I'm going to go ahead and steal this other chest. Doesn't matter what you send away. Every bit of Avel's inventory goes away anyway. Goes into your supply, that is, automatically for you. Bell. That opens up a recruitment later on in the game. And then finally, the very last item that you get in this chapter for Lucia being taken to the house is the Baldur Scroll. So this is HP, skill, strength, speed, luck, and defense plus 5%. These are modified growth. You can see the modifications in the growth screen if you are using the little monster patch, which is very cool. I like these a lot. They do stack. So if you had the Hoar Scroll, this would be another 30% HP growth. It would be another 10% strength growth, but it would be a minus 10% luck growth, which, you know, most people don't care about luck. Finn is actually one of the few units that does care about having a high luck stat, and that is because of his Miracle. Luck times 3% chance to avoid all fatal damage for the rest of combat. So that's super insane. Now, this isn't the rest of the turn, but it is the rest of combat. So it can make him virtually unhittable or invincible under certain circumstances, especially with the Brave Lance equipped, because it does give a plus 10 to luck. So if he has a maximum of 20 luck plus his 10, it would be 30 luck times 3. He is the only character in the game, I think you don't get another miracle scroll. If you do, no, I really don't think you do. I don't think you get another miracle scroll. If you could, Leaf would be the only other character that had the ability to get a 90% chance to avoid fatal damage, which is pretty insane. Now, Leaf does get Miracle, actually, just not as a skill you can put on him. It's a weapon skill, which is very interesting. So just making sure, yet again, I think I'm all golden. With that being said, it is time to seize the throne. It was a hard-fought victory and a lot of strategizing to deal with. Of course, this chapter is kind of a bittersweet send-off. You get captured, imprisoned, if you will. It's very unfortunate for Leaf and his comrades because not only does he get imprisoned, but many of them get separated, and some of them have to leave and go their own separate ways because otherwise they would get imprisoned. Chapter 4, literally titled Imprisoned. This is a very fun chapter, and even though it is one of the harder chapters in the game, it is very fun because if you get around it and you figure it out and all that sort of stuff, it can be kind of an interesting go at it, is basically the best way to put it. So normally in this chapter, there's only 4 chests, and they can randomly show up in any one of these 4 separate rooms. It's very weird that 4 showed up in here. You can actually have these rooms filled with chests, by the way, because technically Leaf and Lithis can both have 7 items apiece, which is 14 chests. You could add 14 chests to the 4 that are in here. I only added 2 because the longer you take on this chapter, the more impossible it becomes. There are virtually infinite spawns of reinforcements of enemies coming from these corridors, so the south, east, and west corridors, after a number of turns. You can block them off, and that blocking off permanently works if you do work it. But it can be a little bit of a daunting task. Now, the 4 items that normally come into this this chapter, I believe, is a rapier, a javelin, a steel sword, and a vulnerary, I think. And then also I have the light brand, as well as the brave axe. Hello there, Claire. Thank you for joining me in the good old chat. I appreciate any old comments and any old visitors, viewers. So, welcome. So basically, the chests there's only 6 of them because, you know, one of them has light brand, one of them has brave axe, and then the other 4 have the items I said. There's also a side objective of getting each one of these civilians. These 3 go to the westernmost corridor, and these 3 go to the easternmost corridor, and if you have them escape, later on in the game, you will get rewards for this. I believe it's actually just a few chapters away. I think chapter 6 maybe is where you get the rewards for these units escaping. And then you have a door here. Behind the door is where the boss is, as well as a ton of enemies, and I mean a ton of enemies, especially for this part of the game. And then a new directive, a new objective in the game, which is the escape. I am doing a-okay. It's nice to see you all in the chat. I appreciate that you brought her along, Colo, Claire and Cola, you guys joining. It's a little bit unfortunate though, because I started my stream at 11, and I'm probably not playing much more. So this is a bit of an unfortunate thing here. So this chapter is kind of a bit crazy. So the escape objective in this game works differently than it does in every other Fire Emblem in the series. If you escape with your main character, Leaf, the rest of your units are captured. And you cannot get them back until specific chapters, guided chapters, so hidden chapters, where there are jails. So 4X is the next guided chapter. It actually does have jail cells. So if all of your units were to be left behind here, you could release them in those cells. It is absolutely possible. It's not something that I would ever do or recommend doing, except for chapter 21X. There is a reason why that is, and I'll get to that when we get there. Unfortunately, we're only on chapter 4, so that's kind of a moot point here. Besides that, I have a bunch of new units. I have Fergus and Karen. Pretty cool dude. He's one of my favorite units in the game. Karen is also a pretty fantastic unit. They both support one another. And she's a Pegasus rider, so she gets a flying mount when she's not indoors. Unfortunately, I'm going to be indoors for the next few chapters. I do like positioning my units as close to the door as possible. These three I don't position directly next to the door because of reasons that... it's just strategic reasons. Lithus can, because I don't want these guys right next to the door, the brigands. These guys are great because they're a distraction. They will go off and fight some of the bad guys. So what I'll do is I'll block off the eastern and the westernmost way in this chapter, but I won't block off the southern. And it's because these guys can take care of it. And if you get super lucky, which doesn't really happen, it's probably like a 10-15% chance, they will actually capture some of the bad guys. And why that's important is because almost every bad guy reinforcement in this chapter comes with vulneraries, and vulneraries restore all HP to the user. These brigands, which who knows why they have axes in their jail cells, by the way, they have no survivability basically, and if they have captured vulneraries, they will heal themselves, which is pretty cool, all things considered. Now, the very first turn of this chapter is the most important turn. And the reason why this is because Brighton here, Brighton here, he has to KO both of these guys pretty much turn one. And he has a pretty high chance to miss doing that. So, speaking of welcoming you guys to the good old chat, this is one of the games that I like to liken a lot of my friends and families to the characters in the game. And Brighton is the character I like to put to you, Colo. He is an Axe Knight, very strong, very powerful, all about defending his girly friend, Matcha, who ends up becoming his wife post-game. And he's basically your strongest unit in the beginning of the Monster Escape arc, which is where I'm at right now. So that's pretty cool. I think what I'm gonna do right here is... yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. You can take your vulnerary, keep your steel sword. So here, the iron sword and the short sword would be better for Brighton for accuracy, because the steel sword only has 65 hit, whereas these have 70 and 75 hit respectively. And that's his biggest problem. His biggest downfall is missing here, but also he doesn't have enough damage, so he actually needs the steel sword. So it's kind of like a no-win situation. And basically, I'm just going to skip over good old dialogue and then hope and pray that Brighton KOs here. Okay, he got one. Brighton has Wrath. Wrath means that he always guarantees a critical hit if he counterattacks. So if the opponent attacks first. This means that this is one of the reasons why he's so insanely strong. There we go. Awesome. So he only had an 80% chance to do either of those hits. This game only has single RN, so that literally means a 1 out of 5 chance he was missing that. The fact that he got defense and strength there is pretty darn awesome as well. I'm pretty excited about that. It means he's going to be a much better unit for this chapter, all things considered. Brighton has to keep moving forward. And then next, Matcha is going to be taking the... downward location. I think the short sword is fine to equip here. Just have to make sure that Laura here, my new thief, so I do have a second thief now. My other one is behind bars, so he can't really do anything. But, yeah, I need to make sure she doesn't get attacked. She's basically made out of wet tissue paper. End my turn. Ah, come on. This is one of the problems with this chapter. This is one of the reasons why this chapter is so difficult, is because RNG, like that, can basically determine that you're going to lose. Alright, so I have to do some calculations here, because some of my characters didn't do exactly what I was hoping for in this moment. So, Brighton... He's only taking 2 damage from this guy, which means that he has no worry of being seriously affected here. I think it's fine for me to just wait here with Brighton. So Brighton can KO 2 birds with 1 stone. That's perfectly fine. Matcha's doing 7 times 2. The fact that she missed a 95 hit. Missed a 95 hit. Are we serious here, lady? So 7 times 2, as long as she hits both of these hits, she will KO. Thank you. And with that KO, I'm pretty free and clear for the time being. Now I can go ahead and open up this door. You kind of do not... Oh, by the way. Yes, by the way. You do not want to open up this door with the brigands until you've taken care of all of these units up here. At least most of them. To the point where maybe there's like 1 left. Otherwise, the brigands will start running after them. You don't want that because you don't want them to be in wrong positions necessarily. You do have to open it eventually because you're in a time crunch in this chapter. This chapter looks super easy right now because right now I literally only have 3 units left to face. But there comes a point where you're getting constant reinforcements from the west, south, and east to the point where you're going to get swarmed. And then there's so many units up north that even though you don't get reinforcements up north to fight against, there's just so many units behind this door that if you're squashed between the two, you could end up just losing units. Definitely not something I want to do in an Ironman run because guess what? Those units aren't coming back. They're gone for good. Alright, so I'm attacking twice. First hit will be crit. Ah, come on, Brighton. That would have been so nice if you actually KO'd there. Nice. Very nice. Very nice. So Brighton did finish the job. The problem is that... oh, man. Okay, this guy doesn't have a vulnerary. This guy does. So that's pretty good. They don't trade items, so this guy will just, you know, decide to attack Brighton again. I'm just going to... He is doing 12 damage. I have 6 defense, so he's doing a 6. I can just sit and wait for him to attack me, and that should be fine. Steel sword received. All of these items next turn have to be given over to Laura because she's going to go down and open up these doors. Whereas Matcha here, she's actually going to go block a stairway because she needs to do that with Brighton shortly. Brighton needs to KO these guys as soon as possible and get to the stairway to block. And yeah, that's pretty much their job at this current moment. Alright, cool. After this little battle, I should KO here because I'm going to attack twice, and it's not likely I'm going to miss 2 70s. But I hit the very first, so that's pretty darn awesome. 1 extra HP, 1 extra strength is super good for Brighton. I really appreciate that. Now I can go here, use a vulnerary. He can go ahead and fight the next one. All of those items can go on Laura. And I'll wait here at the door. All right. This should be... Oh, come on. Again, this is the trouble with this. This is the trouble with this. Brighton has to KO. He only has a 63 chance to hit here. And he's only actually doing 5 damage normally. Now, if he crits, you know, he's going to do way more than that. He's going to do, what, 21? So I actually need to hit this guy twice. So it's pretty much pertinent that I attack him as well as him attacking me. Come on, Brighton. The experience points is cute, but that's not all I need here. Okay. Can we do it? Can we do it? We only have a few more turns at this before I have to open up that bottom door. Okay, crit. Nice. Very nice. Very nice. So this is looking to be pretty much on time. As long as I KO him here with this attack, I am golden. You can do it, Brighton. Yes, he did it. Awesome. So this is that's all of the RNG is done with this map. This is amazing. What this means is that I can not only open up this door, all right, Lithus can trade some of these things. Now, the reason why you'll see me trade these two on this chapter when they're walking right next to each other is because they both have movement stars. So they have a decent chance to move again. It's not going to be something you can rely on, but if it procs, it can help you get to an objective just that much sooner, which is just such a good thing. All right. So, because Lithus now has the lockpick, I'm going to move him first. And then Laura is going to move. And then, of course, I'm going to trade the lockpick. Just the lockpick. That's all I need. And if she would have been able to move again, I could have opened up this door, which would have been nice. Would have been helpful. Not totally necessary, but, you know. And the door is open. All right, so my main units are now released from the prison. And I do have a bunch of weapons to give to them with the short sword, iron sword, and steel sword. This is actually just enough for all 3 of them to have a weapon. It does mean that Lithus won't, but he doesn't really care about the slim sword. The slim sword is only on Laura because it is a weapon that she can wield without losing any speed, but it also keeps her from being captured, because if your units are unarmed, they can be captured. So there is that. Let's see. So how we can play this here, this is very interesting. I can actually play, oh, bit of a shame, bit of a shame. I mean, it doesn't really matter. It just means that my units won't be getting weapons just right yet. But I can trade the lockpick with a couple of my units so that Lithus over here can abscond the lockpick. I think I'll go ahead and give away the swords. And then I'll use the lockpick. Leaf needs a sword. I think I'll do... the iron sword for now. I guess that makes sense. And that's pretty much it. I'm not getting any reinforcements quite yet, but they are coming very soon. Now, this side is fully blocked off. It is impossible for reinforcements to come through this side now, but that's not the case for this side or this side. Luckily, Fergus is ready and willing to start the attacking. Yes, I did just say attacking. Leaf can also, but I kind of don't want him to. The steel sword can go on Karen. So Karen actually makes the most good use of the steel sword, even though she can't wield it without penalty. But the reason why she uses the steel sword the best is because it allows her to two-hit KO all of the magic units in the upcoming chapters. Why this is so important is because Karen is the only one of your units that has relatively decent magic, and magic in this game doubles as your attack and magical resistance. So she not only is really good at defeating the mages, she's also really good at not dying to the mages. All right. Javelin. And then he has 7 movement, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't know if I want to put her necessarily right there, but how much movement does she have? 7, so if I put her right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, that does reach. That's very nice. I'll be able to open up that next door. Next thing. All right, so the reinforcements have begun. This is not that big of a deal because they always start from the south. And like I said, I do have the brigands here. The brigands are going to come in clutch. Just have to be very careful where your units are so that they don't get struck by them. All right, lockpick, chest key. And then Leaf and Fergus can go block these, which is very nice. This means that my plan of blocking both the east and west is perfect. So the only thing that can go wrong now is the brigands die early. If the brigands die early, even though I have both the left and right blocked off, the bottom will eventually still flood me out. It's that bad. That's how many reinforcements that you do get, and it's pretty wild. So you have to basically hope that the brigands avoid a lot of attacks, which is not impossible because they do have weapon triangle advantage, being axe users against these lance users, but it's also just not super likely either. Like this guy right here, he's going to capture, and he did succeed in that, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's pretty great. What that means is that that brigand from this point forward has access to a 3-use vulnerary. At the minimum. I don't think that they will release or capture another. This is also another problem because even though he's got a vulnerary, and this will restore all his HP, he now has half his stats. So it's like a win some, lose some thing. Good old Matcha needs to use one of the vulneraries. Everybody needs to stay on pretty darn good health, otherwise there's just a high chance of death. Alright, chest key. I will gladly take that. Alright, so these guys are released. It's going to take, I think, 3 turns for them to get over to where they need to go, and then I just have to release these guys. I actually don't have to worry about this door because there's nothing in it, obviously. The chests randomize which locations they go into, so that's cool for me. That's the literal last place you would want the chest to be in, is in the upper right hand room. Second to last place is in the upper left hand room. So the fact that there's 4 chests there means that this is not the best of seeds. So it's not like, you know, I have some amazing seed here regardless. That's not the case at all. Okay. Yep, so they're dodging. This is good. This is good news. As long as they keep blocking off this area, they dodge as much as possible, they KO as much as possible, you're pretty golden. This right now is looking to be like an extremely good run. Okay, the Brave Axe has been obtained. Move with Lithus first, because he has the lockpick. Alright, so next turn I will be able to do that. I need a few more turns to open these up, but I'm going to have those turns, so it's perfectly fine. And that's pretty much it. I think I'm pretty well set. What you'll see is the camera pans to where the reinforcements are coming from. So every time it's panning to the right like that for no apparent reason, it is because a reinforcement would have appeared where Matcha and Brighton happened to be, but that just didn't happen for him. Ah, man, I think it is actually 4 turns that these guys take. You don't have enough units to rescue them either, so that's not a possibility. Oh. Yeah, this is getting dangerous for these guys. So the upper Brigand doesn't really care because he has a vulnerary. Alright. Awesome. The only thing I need to do now is I need to actually, oh, that's super cool. I wasn't expecting that at all. But it can happen. I need to get some weapons and items over to other units. Oh yeah, chest key, so I can open up more stuff. Get this done and over with as quickly as possible. It's going to take a few turns before I'm out of here. And, yeah, that's saddening. I do believe that that soldier that was dropped by the brigand who died just now cannot possibly... Yeah, he has no items on him. That's why he was immediately capturable. He has no items or weapons on him. It does mean that the one brigand who decided to capture him for no apparent reason here, this dude, he got nothing out of that exchange except for subtracted stats, which is kind of a bit abysmal, if you think about it. Yep, rapier. The short sword. I think the short sword weighs less. No, the iron sword weighs less. So the iron sword actually needs to go on Karen. I think the rapier, as well as the short sword, can stay on Fergus. Well, maybe not. Yeah, the rapier and short sword, maybe. It's a little bit tricky dealing with the inventory of your units while having to deal with all of this. Now the problem is, like I said, if these guys perish here, the reinforcements down here could get to be kind of insane, especially if they're coming up and attacking your civilians. I don't have enough units to deal with defending the civilians whilst also blocking the stairways. I think, though, this is where I'm going to go ahead and call it for the night, my friends. I think this has been a very, very fun stream so far. And I am kind of leaving the game on a bit of a cliffhanger because, well, that's just how I like to do it. I want to thank you guys for joining me. Everybody who voted on all of the polls that I had and had any kind of part in the community as well as joining for the stream. It has been my pleasure. Streams are happening every single Friday, same time, same place. Hope to see you there. I want to thank you for joining me yet again. May you have a great and glorious day gaming.